Fernando Tatis Jr. was asked what he thinks when he hears his name compared to the likes of Patrick Mahomes and LeBron James. I'm Robin Lundberg here now with Ben Pickman and the fantasy exec Corey Parson. And guys, to be honest, I haven't really heard that comparison for Tatis, and he answered the question very well. But I have a question for you. Can a baseball player even reach that level at all? For one, I don't think an individual MLB player can impact the game the way an NFL quarterback can or an NBA superstar can. And then there's a question about celebrity status relative to those sports. Derek Jeter was maybe, the closest to that level a while back. Ben, what do you think? Can a baseball player get to the Mahomes, LeBron level?
I mean, I certainly think it's possible, but I wouldn't even put Mahomes and LeBron on the same level yet, let alone Fernando Tatis, Mahomes, and LeBron. I think they're all at completely different tiers. And let's certainly pump the brakes on Fernando Tatis Jr. Yes, he's one of the brightest stars in baseball and is on the cover of the MLB The Show and just signed his 14-year extension, but he hasn't even played one complete 162-game season yet. And so you make the good point, Robin. I think the comparison is, can Fernando Tatis Jr. be more like a Derek Jeter, right? If you look at Jeter in his 20-year Major League Baseball career with the Yankees, he has those 14 All-Star appearances. He has the 5 World Series. I think that's the person that Fernando Tatis is trying to emulate. And if you look at Jeter, certainly I think people talked about Jeter as much or in the same way we talk about LeBron, though LeBron, of course, now has that kind of broader cultural relevance. But in terms of on-field contributions, Jeter is right there. Fernando Tatis Jr. is not there yet. And I think this kind of question is the kind of question we'll want to revisit 15, 20 years down the road and say, is Fernando Tatis Jr. at that level? Because I don't think he's there now, and he's not going to be at that level for a very long time.
Derek Jeter's an interesting case because, he was a different sort of player. A lot of that was to do with the Yankees, the winning, I think, as far as like the individual statistics. He was never like the guy necessarily, but he's still in some ways thought of as kind of the face of the sport there. Corey, what do you think about this? Because it's not fair to Tatis, who's played very well. To me, this is almost like the baseball media searching to bring a transcendent star up.
Yeah, they couldn't make Mike Trout a star. Now the idea is to try to make Fernando Tatis a star, and he's not on the level of Pat Mahomes and LeBron James. You got to win to be on those guys' level, and Tatis hasn't had that kind of success yet. Comparisons to Derek Jeter are probably more in line, but remember, this is San Diego as opposed to New York City and the brand that is the New York Yankees. Tatis is a very exciting young ball player. Baseball is going to really need him to be their face, the face of their sport, and step up and be their guy. What you're going to need is big-time series against the Los Angeles Dodgers, where the San Diego Padres win. He's going to need to hit big-time home runs in that series. We need bat flips and things like that in order to build that swag and build that momentum in his favor. But listen, it has to be done on the field. You can talk about it all you want, but until it's done on the field, it cannot happen. And as far as a baseball player, I think a dominant pitcher can really change a baseball team, especially in a 7-game series. Somebody you can throw out there 3 times, and like the ALCS and the World Series, a player like that could be like an NBA superstar or like a quarterback.
But they're not playing every night, right? I mean,
No.
I think is the big difference. A quarterback's touching the ball on every offensive possession, and an NBA player obviously playing both ends. Whether Tatis can ever get to that level, it's not really fair to him because he doesn't decide that. I think all he can do is be the best version of himself, and he's already off to a good start because we're talking about him in conversations like this.